Okay, thank you. On to public participation. So there's 20 minutes now for members of the public. I can start by taking questions from the room, please.
I'm sure that there are a lot of people who worked hard at the Parliament, who's someone sitting here. I'm so pleased to see that the Mayor Corporation didn't wear their cloaks, because it would have been rather. But it was a really good day, and I'm sure that the council will congratulate you. That's your comment. My question is, I have seen some coloured lines being stuck down by the roundabout and in this area, which suggests that there's going to be some roadworks or some looking for drains works or whatever it might be works. It's a bit worrying when I see about 5 different colours of dotted lines on pavements and in the middle of the road. Does the council have any news of what that might be about?
Thank you.
Not specifically on the coloured lines, no, but we can investigate and I can come back to you.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah, specifically around the town area.
Particularly around the roundabout, but there are some in approaching in town itself.
A lot of survey last few days.
Yeah, and a survey.
Services.
Yeah, and a survey often means we're going to dig something up.
Any other questions? In the room? No? Oh, yeah.
I know it's later on in the meeting anyway, but I've got some questions about the weed killer. Does Lawntech use products containing glyphosate? If not, what do they use? Where is our pesticide policy gone? I've been looking and looking. I can't find it. Because in there, in 2024, we sat and we discussed the glyphosate and we said that we would be cutting down in it. So that's why I'm asking. I also emailed Salisbury as a member of the public just to see what they do as way of deterring weeds and things. They do not use herbicides at all, and I was really surprised about that. So if they're not using anything, why are we considering using the sort of herbicides again? And also, any lawn care firm would probably see a win-win in their eyes when they look at the lawn and say, yeah, of course, yes, it needs treating. I mean, you know, it's so I'm not quite sure what to think about this, but if I could have these questions answered, that would be great. Thank you.
Do you want some answer now or do you want to wait for the item?
I don't mind.
Can I suggest that you wait till the item?
Is
a lot of that?
Yes.
Cover that at the item. Thank you. Any other questions in the room? No? Okay. Any questions on Teams? Okay, thank you. That concludes then the public participation section of the meeting. So we'll now go on to the formal meeting. So agenda item 1, which is apologies. So we've received apologies from Councillor Edge, Councillor Blackman, although Councillor Blackman has attended online, so as per our meeting policy is able to participate in debate but cannot vote. And Councillor Pauline Church has also sent apologies. We have any more, have we? Everyone else is here. Yeah. To receive any declarations of interest, Councillor Disney.
Agenda item 10, as a business owner on North Street, it was I that raised the question of literally repainting lines and asking residents for their opinions and thoughts.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Any other declarations? No. Any request for dispensation? No. Okay. So minutes of the full council meeting held on the 8th of June. Members have seen this in their packs. Any questions or further queries? No. Okay, then I propose that we accept those minutes as an accurate record of the meeting, seconded,
Fill it in first.
seconded by councillor Matthews. All in favour? All in favour?
No, I'm abstaining.
Oh,
It
that's not-
wasn't here.
Okay. One abstention. Okay, on to agenda item number 4, so the civic report. So I won't go through this in detail. The only thing I will add is that on Saturday I had the privilege of going for the opening day and night in Wilton Village, which is a bespoke fitted furniture company which has just moved into Wilton Village, and is a family-run business with a Mastercraft award as well for the work that it does. So do go and have a look if you're in Wilton Village. And I'd also just mention that just where you'll see at the bottom of the civic report that I've attended the Rotary Annual Presidential changeover, the Scouts AGM, which was really, really insightful, and I wanted us to look at how we can potentially use the Scouts a bit more, potentially within the town. Councillor Blackman attended Wilton Link, and I had the privilege of attending the RDA Raise the Roof Barn Dance and the pleasure of Ivan, the pony, as company that night, which was great. But it was a really, really obviously worthy cause. They need to raise, I think, near enough 150, well, between 100 and 150,000 pounds, I think it is, for their roof. And they are getting halfway there, but do support if you can. Is there any other verbal reports that councillors want to provide?
Can I just thank Wilton Link,
Yeah.
because we got an invite, and it was a fantastic afternoon, very hot, but the cakes were amazing. So I'd thank them a minute there. Thank you.
Could I also say, I've had a text today from Jackie from Seeds for Success. The holiday club, what they had last year, has actually been taken away this year because there were not enough children attending. But what they have offered, Seeds for Success, is any children from Wilton who would like to partake, they will give lifts to the nearest holiday club in Mia. So they're being proactive and helping out.
How do the people make contact with them?
Um,
Where's that information?
either the youth group, which is
Right,
here,
okay.
or on Tuesday, well, yeah, Tuesday night, the youth group. It's basically word of mouth. Maybe I could get in touch with Jackie and ask if they could put a poster out or something,
We can then share
which
that.
can go on, yeah.
And they have a Facebook page, Seeds of Success, to contact through that.
It's any more? No. Okay. So Wiltshire Council report obviously isn't provided tonight. So just one comment I think just about the fire station. You had seen the positive news, albeit slightly bitter, but positive news that the fire station will remain open, along with the 7 other fire stations. The reason why I say it's slightly bitter is because there is a caveat hanging over the fire station now as a result of the fire authority stating that if they do not get their funding through that they've been lobbying for, then they will reserve the right to close all 8 stations. So what I would say is the fight absolutely must go on to make sure that the fire station first of all stays open, but any support that we can give to try and make sure that funding comes through as well, we'll look to try and support in any way we can. Did anyone else want to make any comment on that? No? Okay. The next point I'll go on to is the police report. So I've had an update from the parish police team. So motoring related offences, speed enforcement recorded 47 vehicles speeding on the 24th of June 2026 in Wilton on the Avenue. This stretch of road has clearly displayed speed limit of 30 miles per hour. The fastest vehicle was reported travelling at 52 miles per hour. On the day in question, it was very hot and sunny and the roads were dry. Flashing lights at other drivers is illegal and has no effect on long-term driving habits. Drivers who are in the habit of speeding will continue to speed until they're caught. If you have friends or family who like to warn others of enforcement ahead, but don't like people speeding in the place where they live, please politely ask them to stop and help us make our roads safer. Depending on previous convictions and history, 38 drivers will be offered a speed awareness course, 6 drivers will receive a fixed penalty notice and 3 points, and 3 drivers will be subject to court recovery. Proceedings will now be undertaken to ensure that the most appropriate outcome for the offender takes. Antisocial behaviour. So as we are heading into the summer months, it is likely we will see an increase in antisocial behaviour. If you have experienced any instances of ASB, please ensure you report these to Orchard Police in one of the usual ways. There are 3 main categories of antisocial behaviour depending on how many people are affected. Personal is when a person targets a specific individual or group. Nuisance is when a person causes trouble, annoyance or suffering to a community. Environmental is when a person's actions affect the wider environment, such as public spaces or buildings. Examples ASB include vehicle nuisance when appropriate use, rowdy or inconsiderate behaviour, nuisance neighbours, noise, street drinking and begging. More information, please visit what is antisocial behaviour at the Wiltshire Police website. And then community consultation. So PCSO King and PC Ferguson attended Wilton Market Square on Tuesday, the 30th of June in the mobile police unit. Thank you to those who came to speak with us. It was lovely to see you. Officers were also in attendance at the Wilton Carnival on Saturday the 4th. And as Mr. Cutler mentioned earlier, obviously so were we. So it was lovely to see everyone there. But if you've got any local events that are ongoing, please do let the police team know by their address, which can be shared as part of this report for anyone to want it. So that concludes the civic report, the reports from civic and local organisations. Now go on to agenda item number 5, which is to receive financial reports and approve payments. So again, all councillors will have received their financial reports in their packs, and I'm assuming have gone through them. Are there any questions or queries that they want to raise? Take that as a no. So on that basis, I would like to suggest that we resolve to receive, we can resolve on block to receive and note the bank reconciliation, year-to-date receipts and payments against budget, monthly breakdown by cost code and Q1 budget report, ratify the payments to the value of £22,660.80 and approve the payment to Going Underground of £6,985 plus VAT. Do I have a proposer?
I'll propose.
Councillor Matthews, a seconder. Councillor Willock, all in favour? All in favour. Thank you. Agenda item number 6, so consider and comment on planning applications. You will have seen there's a single planning application for a change of use for number 14 West Street from a Class C commercial to a 2-bedroom Class C3 dwelling house. Formation of a new loft apartment within the attic of numbers 16 and 18 West Street, refurbishment of the existing first floor apartment. Apartment 1F at numbers 16 and 18 associated internal and external operations. So we are, as a local parish council, we obviously need to provide a comment, which could be to support, no objection, or no comments. But
I understand that Maureen Church has called this in.
Yes, I believe she has. Yeah.
I certainly would oppose this.
Okay.
We don't do away with shops, and we want to encourage people to come here and meet.
Sure. Indeed. Any other comments? Oh, Councillor Dixon.
My comment was the 6-space car park at the rear of the property. It seems an awful lot of extra traffic to be sending up Crow Lane. Granted, it is provision parking, but it's potentially problematic, along with we're losing from retail space.
Yeah.
So I have a question. That report from Elaine Milton of the heritage planning. Does what she say hold a lot of weight then? She makes a lot of recommendations about pulling things down at the back and changing it back from that jutting out thing of the 1970s annex edition, and about the parking. I think she suggests only 4 in the end. Does the council, not us, planning, do they listen to that and?
Well, they should listen to all comments that are placed on there. In terms of weighting, I wouldn't be able to know actually as to whether or not they would whether it would carry any more particular weight than anyone else. But I'm assuming they all have certain measures and controls that they need to use to determine that.
And remember, it's also in a conservation area, so the conservation officer will have a lot of sway and influence over that.
Yeah, and they mentioned that in the report and said a lot, and even changes based on.
Is that why Councillor Pauline Church has called it in? Because of it being in the conservation area?
I don't know. It'd be a question.
No reason.
I haven't spoken to her directly about it, but when she's here next time, maybe we can ask her then, or by all means ask her outside of the meeting.
Because I noticed that there's already 4 car parking spaces at the back, and because they're making it to 3 flats, they're going for 6, which is giving quite good in that it's a positive in that you're getting 2 spaces per property. So I think a few years ago we allowed the house opposite the co-op to become. It used to be a business. It became a flat, didn't it?
It's an Airbnb.
It's a B&B now, is it? Yes. So I knew they were converting it, and we didn't know whether to allow it because they had no parking. So in this case, at least they have got 2 spaces per property, and that's a positive. And it doesn't need to be on tarmac. They put tarmac, but it could be on gravel parking.
I think with the one what you're on about, those the old neighbour, they own that property outright. They didn't sell it wide. They just changed the purpose. We sort of think that was into object, but yeah, but you're right. No parking in that.
It's better if you have got parking, isn't it?
Okay, so
Can I just check on that? We're in effect losing 1 shop, number 14. 16 stays as a shop and 18 will be the office. Can stay as a shop. Is that what you understood it as, Phil?
sorry.
Did you understand that we're going to just lose 1 shop, number 14?
Yeah, I did.
So if I just read it out, change of use from number 14 from class E commercial to a 2-bedroom class 3 dwelling house.
Yes, so 14 is going.
And then
full
there's the
house.
formation of the loft apartment within the attics of number 16 and 18, and then refurbishing the existing first floor apartment. So that's what it.
So 16 and 18 stay as commercial on the ground floor.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I just say something before
Yes,
you go to vote?
yeah.
So in terms then of supplying Wiltshire Council with your comments, are you happy with me saying the proposed change of use will result in the loss of a valuable commercial and community asset? Local planning policies aim to protect viable retail units to maintain the economic vitality and accessibility of our neighbourhood. The removal of this retail space undermines local services and necessitates longer journeys for daily essentials, contradicting the sustainability goals of the adopted local plan.
Absolutely.
So to be clear though, we're saying we don't want the ground floor of 14 changed into a house. They must maintain that as a shop, but all of the others can be housing.
Already on flats.
But is above 16 and 18 already a flat? Is it already?
I think the first floor.
Yeah, that's
Then they're going to fix the loft and do the,
Yeah, well, it's very bad condition.
Yeah. yeah. So we're just opposing 14th
No,
ground floor,
We'll be proposing the
the whole
application.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we do. So based on that, do you have a proposal there, Councillor Matthews? Second, oh, sorry. Yeah, is that a question or a second?
No, second.
Oh, second, great, thank you. Yeah, second, Councillor Boyd. So this will be to object on the grounds mentioned by the clerk. All in favour? That is all in favour. Okay, thank you. On to item number 7. So to approve additional garden remembrance remedial works. So this is for us to talk about what we're going to do, well, what we can do with garden remembrance. Now you'll see in here that there has been a quote gathered for this. And there's a number of things for us to consider. So first of all, so we're going to note, as a council, we will note the current close status of the garden remembrance and the need for remedial works for the area to be considered for reopening as a safe and tranquil place of reflection. And just so everyone's aware, I did hear, I thought I had someone mention at the start, this is the garden remembrance of Shaftesbury Road Cemetery down at the bottom of the road. To note that cemetery pathways works are programmed to commence in July 2026 at a revised confirmed cost of £24,518.28. Now, we've had a quote from RE Hayes Limited for a sum of £4,995 for levelling and clearance works of the Garden of Remembrance, with funds drawn down from the cemetery in our code. I guess it's if we've got any questions about this, or we're happy to approve it. So I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah. It said we will put up a picket fence, basically where it goes down. Is the picket fence going to be enough?
I thought that the small picket fence. I mean, you don't want it to be too small to trip
No.
over because it's a big slope,
Quite a
big drop.
Yes,
There hasn't been a fence there historically, as I understand. And it was highlighted in our health and safety audit that there does need to be a fence. As long as we're demarcating that space, and we're giving enough space for where the fence goes in to where the drop and some of the we would put some signage up as well.
Used to be flower board there. Sort of it was grass and a flower board, and so you kind of you could walk on that bit.
Again, that can be developed as well.
Is there an indication of how high it needs to be? A metre, the picket fence, or is there a standard size?
It'll be a standard size.
All right, not tiny.
absolutely.
Yes. Am I correct in thinking that the company that have quoted the 4995 are currently, is that like an expansion on what they're already doing for us?
Yes.
So it's kind of like, oh, actually, can you just add that in
Yes.
rather than a completely new?
Yes, so just to explain, obviously the cemetery has been looked at in stages, and the council in November last year resolved to spend it was £23,481 on getting the pathways done. Then we had the drainage problem, so we had to storm the works, and then the works for the pathways were essentially rescheduled in, ready for July. But then the subject came up about the Garden of Remembrance, and actually, do we want to ruin the new pathways if the council in the future wants to essentially sort out the Remembrance garden, so or the Garden of Remembrance? Hence why after the last meeting, you all took part in a poll to find out whether you wanted to get the sequencing right. So pending tonight, it will be the decision tonight. The plan would be to do that in a sequence. So the last part of the plan is the actual pathways, which is then the finished product, if you like. So going back to your question, Councillor Ditton, the contractor was resolved last year. So it makes sense that it's the same contractor doing these works because it will all blend as part of that sequence.
Yes, having volunteered in that area, I just wanted to query the fact about buying topsoil, because it's very fertile, being a graveyard of many years. So we put that soil on the top, and obviously if you put topsoil, the grass will grow quicker, need cutting more often. So I wondered if we could go without the topsoil, just seed it if necessary, and should be all right, really. It's fertile enough. And the thing is, in the winter, lots of trees there, so it's covered in a layer of leaves.
So just to come in, just to give a bit more information, the quote does include doing some remedial tree works, because again, there's been many years where the tree works haven't been done, so there's little daylight in there. So the whole motivation behind this whole project is actually bringing that garden back to life in a very respectful manner, which includes the associated tree works and creating a really nice garden of remembrance, essentially.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, I think the clerk's recommendations A to G makes sense.
Okay. So are you? So I don't think we can do these on block.
You can.
Okay. Well. So just to be clear, then. So I think that's the makings of a proposal there. So considers and if satisfied, approves the quotation for RE Hayes Limited for the sum of £4,995 for levelling and clearance works to garden remembrance with funds from the cemetery EMR cost code 9001. Considers and if satisfied, approves the quotation from RE Hayes Limited for the sum of £2,124.41 for drainage works to garden remembrance with funds drawn from cemetery EMR cost code 9001. Authorises the clerk to obtain quotations for the separate fencing replacement works and subject to the quotations being within a maximum of £3,000 and compliant with the council's financial procedures, approves the works to be funded from EMR Cemetery 9001 with the necessary budget allocation and associated EMR drawdown recorded in accordance with financial regulation 8.13.
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
So this is separate fencing to the picket fencing. This is the iron fencing which separates the area from the main cemetery into the garden of remembrance. There's a big section that's missing, so it's going to require new fencing in that area. Just getting, I mean, I've got 2 quotes between for a third quote to come in.
Okay. Authorises the clerk to process an EMR drawdown of up to 10,500 from EMR Cemetery 9001 and allocate the corresponding budget to cemetery repairs and maintenance 4227 so that any approved expenditure is reflected within the current financial year before expenditure is incurred, and delegates authority to the town clerk to finalise scheduling of the approved works within the existing programme. So that's the proposal. Councillor Matthews, got a question?
No, I'll
second.
second it.
A second. So we've got a seconder.
Have to get it done.
All in favour? All in favour. Thank you very much. Okay. Agenda item number 8 to consider the public WC refurbishment project, exterior design planning application, submission and supporting documents. Seeing as we've got members of the working group here, I'm going to hand over to Councillor Blanford Pole this one.
Right, basically it's the external elevations and cladding was proposed to colour scheme and the logo.
May I talk on the logo, please? So I initially thought perhaps we should have something more historic because we are historic, but then I see it's all inculcated and incorporated in the actual W. It's random having a W, but that's okay. I'll compromise on that. However, could we please remove the family aspect? Take the clock tower from I'm proposing this actually. Take the clock tower from the Baptist, because that looks just like a solid bit of oddness, and highlight the clock tower of the Baptist church and put it where the family was, so it's elevated in a sort of portrait aspect. And then perhaps at the bottom put the Wilton house, because we haven't included Wilton house, and it's such an important part of Wilton. I mean, World War II was sort of sorted out then. It's my proposal. No?
Well, no, I'm just trying to so you want to propose a change to the logo?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you want to do?
Because we're allowed up to 3 changes, aren't we, with that group backbox or whatever?
So essentially, we have, as a team, we have got some design skills, and we're using the principles of bringing all that history and Wilton specifics together. So within your proposal or your recommendations is to consider the quotation from Rocketbox for professional. So actually what we can do is we can feed that feedback in, because we don't know what that finished logo is going to look like, because that's just our work so far. Neil's work so far with some guidance.
Absolutely.
But without diminishing Neil's work, I'm not sure I'm happy with just using one. I'd rather see if there's other companies that are more local, if possible, that we could work with for that logo. The actual idea of the logo is fantastic. because it could be used absolutely everywhere. But I mean, they're like an hour away out near Yeovil, and I'm sure we've got some really good design people more locally that we could reach out to. Is my suggestion, please.
Any other comments?
I just like the idea that Wilton House should be sort of central.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So,
And I'm happy to sit in there because we are here to support local. That's what we profess.
I'm confused now.
so let's just, if I can, for a minute, we'll come. So what you're talking about there, both points that you mentioned, really are centered around point C, I think.
Yeah.
So if I deal with A, B, and B, A and B to start with. So approved option A is the recommended.
Sorry, was B, I thought. I was proposing, okay, but carry on.
So approved, so let's just tackle option A first. So approves option H as recommended by the project group as the preferred exterior cladding and signage design for the Greyhound Lane public WC and furniture project. You're a proposal for that.
I really like
We
that.
have a colour. We don't know. I'll propose because I like red colour. Sorry. I like red colour. That was my choice.
Which one? Option A.
Yes, H.
H. So we've got
H,
I've got a proposal for this.
but not the square label brand one, yeah, which was H.
Right, we do one at a time. Second.
Yeah, but is there a second then for option H? Councillor Wooler.
It's a circle square.
Circle was H.
H. Yeah, so all in favour?
Circle.
Oh,
Option A, that's all in favour. Okay, so that's A done. Right, B, so approves the use of the circular Wilton W branding as the preferred external graphic treatment be displayed on a lit backboard subject to the final cost confirmation and any necessary technical checks.
So I understood it that the circle branding was this actual branding, which is the one I'm disagreeing with or asking for a slight alteration. So I'm,
That's in section C.
well, you see, it's perhaps misunderstanding because it says the logo. So the round thing includes, because we voted on H, which was the round thing in the previous one.
Yeah.
And so B, for me, my understanding is it's the actual logo. But if you want to make it C,
So we don't have to take B, we could leave B because it's, you're right, it's included in the A section.
So
So on C, Michelle, you're suggesting we get another quote. More
I'm
local
suggesting
quote.
we look at more local quotes,
Yeah.
from 2, 3, 4, how many it takes to get more local quotes that we are happy with, that are local.
It's quite expensive because when we did the wildflower sign, it was £500 for the graphics. And I know that was sort of 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, that's, I mean, last logo I got done with that, but.
so what are you proposing?
I'm proposing that we start with the base that the officers have designed, and we take that base out to more local graphic designers and see if we can quote to sharpen it up, tidy it up, and make it exactly like all of it,
So ask you if you
but separately.
we can be a bit more specific. So are we saying 3 quotes? I think
Yeah,
Let's say 3 quotes,
Yeah.
3 other quotes.
including, or you want, so 2 additional, or, because normally our policy would be,
2 additional,
okay, so that's for local,
but local.
2 additional local contractors,
They don't have to be like next door, but
okay,
yeah.
so,
and then includes, can I tag on, Michelle, a revision of the logo? Or do they-
Yeah.
revision of the logo,
Yeah.
but just the only consideration, just want us to keep in mind here, if that happens, and the revision, who's going to approve that revision? because it's going to have to come back. Is that going to inhibit timelines?
Can I just say something?
Yes, you can.
So also this evening, you're going to be looking at the planning application information. So we want to be able to get the planning application in based on the feedback we've had from the pre-app. What we don't want to do is, in my advice to you is wait for this process, but that will then probably take another 3 or 4 weeks. So we could send off option H as it is, but with a caveat that the graphic detail may change.
Yeah, yeah,
Will change.
base will be the same, the structure of it will be the same.
Yeah, this is what
But the visual may change.
yeah, as long as you're happy with that.
Okay. Right.
So I'm proposing that.
And what range is that? Is,
So you're proposing that we're going to seek two additional quotes for a local graphic designer in relation and to be included as part of those 3. Just again, do we need to agree? You give the clerk guidance, or are we asking them to go cheapest, because it has to come back here for approval?
Shall we delegate
authority
the
based
authority to Bark and Toilets Working Group?
Does it need to come back if
If you can delegate it down.
if the clerk is going to say subject to, because it's not going to be built by August, and we can all vote on it in August.
Well, it's just think from planning's point of view, that's fine.
But it's going in for planning with the caveat
Fine.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Still out to tender toilets, isn't it?
Voted on Monday.
Yeah.
So
Can I just make
Yeah.
a suggestion?
Yeah.
So in section D.
Yeah.
Delegate authority to the town clerk in consultation with the appointed contractor, design lead and nominated council representatives to finalise minor design details, including the logo, providing these remain within the approved budget. So I've incorporated that into the resolution.
but what about the 2?
As well. I've just combined being seen.
So can you repeat that and just check that we've got a proposer and a seconder?
I'll refine the words, but it's essentially about taking the core design, going out to another 2 local designers to get additional quotes to include the revision of the logo graphic design.
Yeah.
Proposing?
I'll tweak it, but that's essentially the core of it.
And then to be delegated.
And everything's included in the delegation.
Do we know what the fee is going to be?
That will be for the designer to guide us on the landmarks are in there.
Andrew suggested.
Yes, yeah, so I've captured that.
Proposer, seconder, councillor Boyd, all in favour? In favour. So
Sorry, who proposed it, sorry?
councillor Ditton, councillor Boyd seconded.
Lovely.
So that replaces B, C and D, doesn't it?
Yeah.
On to agenda item number 9, just receive an update from the Flood and River Management Advisory Committee and consider flood resilience and equipment requirements. We've got a member on that committee.
Maria's on that committee.
Did you want to provide an update?
Oh, I can do it, Maria. You-
I wanted to make a comment, but I haven't prepared a summary of the meeting. So do you want to do it, Brian? I'll
Yeah,
just
of
make a
course.
comment. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I've kept you up to date on the digest with the flood advisory committee. It's fair to say that the development of the emerging flood plan is really taking shape. We've got some really fantastic people that are contributing a huge amount to the content of the plan. And what the committee is really keen to do is to get ahead of the game. And although we're in July, we are talking about Christmas, we're talking about the winter and preparing ourselves for the winter. In the flood plan is a really detailed overview of PPE and all of the relevant equipment that our amazing flood wardens need to be able to do their job properly. Chair Pete Blackman has done a great job with pulling all this information together. The total estimated cost of the PPE for all of our flood wardens is just under 3,000. And we also know that there are a number of flood gauges that are in need of replacement across the town. So we've included that in the request as well. So it's important that the council are aware of all of the work that the Farmac committee is undertaking, but more importantly, that we get ahead of the game really and start to get in some of this key equipment in readiness for the winter period.
Can I just say something on this? I mean, I agree with all the things they want to buy, you know, pretty essential. It's regularly flooding, unfortunately, in winter now, aren't we? The only thing I wanted to query is about the contractor doing the flood risk assessment. The reason I say this is because when we first discussed the compound and the car parks, there was a long discussion over why we wouldn't have the men's shed in charge of the work, because at the end of the day, the council is liable for this work, you know, whether it goes right, and whether it gets through planning and whether it floods afterwards or something. And I wondered whether the town council should be commissioned flood risk assessor, you know, in the same way that we wouldn't let a third party do the works for the compound. So that because at the end of the day, we're liable if there's an issue with the flooding or the drainage. Rather than, you know, saying to the builder, can you write a flood risk report for us?
Can I just provide some clarity?
Yeah, go ahead, yes.
So that's not necessarily linked to this agenda item. However, the contractor is recommending 2 flood risk assessors to us. So it's not a flood risk assessor who is paid by the company.
All right.
It's a known contractor that he is recommending because he's used him for other work in the area.
So we'll be commissioning the flood risk assessment.
Yes, we can. Yes.
And it'll come back to the flood group. Lovely, thank you.
Any other points?
I have a question about flood gauges, believe it or not. Are these the standard flood gauges that are around all over that will be replaced, or are they going to be replaced with more up-to-date methods such as electronics?
There'll be the flood gauges that are recommended by the Environment Agency, so they're the manual ones, not the digital ones.
Okay.
But we're very fortunate the council's very fortunate to have such experience in the flood advisory committee. We've got somebody who is tracking electronically all the gauges all the way from the Tisbury River all right the way through and checking all the different river levels, and he's got the data, and it's just all of the modelling work's been done, which is beyond incredible. So it's quite an exciting piece of work as it's being developed. It'll be great to be able to bring it to the council to share that work with you.
Any questions? No? So in that case, the recommendation is to resolve to note the update from Farmac following the meeting held on the 24th of June 26, to note the ongoing development of the Wilton flood plan, and then to approve the purchase of the replacement flood gauges and flood resilience PPE up to the value of £3,433.73, and authorise the expenditure to be funded as follows: £2,000 from flood prevention 4490 and £1,433.73 from EMR flood prevention 9004, with necessary budget allocation and EMR drawdown recorded against flood prevention 4490 in accordance with the council's financial procedures. Is there a proposer? Councillor Taverner, seconder, Councillor Wilton, all in favour? All in favour. Agenda item number 10, for which there's declared interest. So this is to consider a highways related matter. So again, this relates to the markings on North Street, isn't it? So what we are being asked to do is decide how we proceed. So there are a number of recommendations down there. Is there any comments or questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can I ask myself when Councillor Ditton a question?
Of course. Yeah.
So Councillor Ditton, what are you hoping to achieve by this? Because I see we have 3 different options. So in order for me to make my choice, I need to know what your sort of thinking was behind it. Is it just to get the area demarcated, or are we looking for something bigger? Because I initially thought option 2, actually, but then it's recommended perhaps option 1. So what is your thinking?
So thinking is that I sit on the corner every day.
Yeah.
And I see people parking everywhere, and I step out and there are no visible lines.
Agreed.
It makes it difficult to enforce any parking infractions. The parking itself makes it very tricky for the lorries, delivery vans, anyone else trying to get up and down Crow Lane and Russell Street, and down North Street. I've also seen people nearly hit from across the road by going in between cars that shouldn't be where they're parked. So the general idea was to see if there's a way that we can sharpen it up, make it look tidier, and hopefully reduce parking.
So what makes you go with 1 rather than 2, where perhaps Wiltshire Council can come in?
I mean, I'd happily extend it across the whole of Wilton, but
Yeah.
we're specifically,
Do you think it's something we could put forward as option 1, and then depending on how, if they do get painted, we review and see perhaps we go option 2 next year? I don't know,
something we could.
because
potentially build
1
on
would
here
happen
and
quick.
Well, I just want to say something there. We did an accessibility audit. Councillor Boyle was involved in it in 2022, and I was a member of the public, and we did report that. And they said it wasn't worn enough. I mean, I see it's got a little bit worse now. It wasn't bad enough. I couldn't believe it to be repaired. And so I think, yes, we should be option 1, definitely. Replace those lines. So people do get tickets if they park there, because it is an issue. If you're in a wheelchair trying to cross the road, you're not flexible as where you can cross, are you? So that's my main point, really.
And so in that case, just in light of what your comments have said, the comments you've made, so like recommendation E, so consider whether it wishes officers to obtain quotations for a parking survey by suitably qualified consultants to inform any future wider highways or parking proposal affecting North Street. That would potentially cover what you're talking about in terms of extending restrictions. Councillor.
Yeah, but I wrote a note here saying next year's budget. We just, next year's budget. This budget is.
Well, we'd have to get quotes anyway and then make a decision at that point once those quotes came in. But in terms of trying to achieve what you were suggesting, that might be the way to do it. It's been listed as one of the recommendations.
Yes, true, but it's weighing up. Going option 1, which is the quickest, and at least getting proper paint on the road.
Yeah.
Hoping to alleviate now, and then exploring in next year's budget, perhaps option 3.
I think the clerk last time put in on my WhatsApp, it was that simple, asking for the lines to be repaired. And that's when they said they're not bad enough. And I recently reported the ones in Castle Lane, because when the gates shut, now you can't see the lines at all. People just leave their cars anyway, can't they? Because there are no lines.
If I can just add, we have already gone through that process, and the lines, they're saying the lines are not worn enough.
Oh, you're joking.
So this is what's in front of you this evening, because if we then formally write to them as a corporate body, that is what we need to be done, that is the step that we can take.
So we'd have to pay for it.
We pay 25%, we pay 25%.
We're just repairing.
20%.
So we don't normally pay for lines painting, do we? Because we're not.
They normally do ask for a contribution of 25% to line markings. We paid quite a bit of that last year.
Even if we do option 1.
So we do need lines.
Sound great.
So based on what you're saying, unless I've misunderstood, I think you're in line with the recommendations.
Correct now.
Yeah, okay. So on that basis then, I think we can do these en bloc, if everyone's comfortable. So
I just want to say one more thing as well. Under recommendation D, we do have a newly adopted highway request policy requiring proposals to be supported by the appropriate level of resident engagement. Councillor Wilton has been working hard to get feedback from residents, and we've got 10 now, haven't we?
We have, yes, we've got 10, specifically North Street based residents, as well as plenty of feedback regarding the state of all roads. across all of Wiltshire on Facebook.
It did open the can of worms.
It did, but it was all nice, friendly
Good engagement.
discussion.
Is that what you put up yesterday?
Very good. Yeah.
Oh, right, I thought you were going to give a month for the next meeting,
No, I put dates on there.
for feedback,
It's still open. The form is still there.
feedback's to.
Okay, so in that case, then the council should resolve to note the concerns raised regarding the deteriorated condition of the existing single yellow line outside the car and associated road markings. Consider and if satisfied, approve option 1, submission of an LH fig request to which the council seeking refreshment repainting of the existing single yellow line and associated road markings, supported by current photographs. Note that any proposal to introduce new or amended parking restrictions, including any extension of restrictions beyond the existing extent, would constitute a separate proposal and should be progressed in accordance with the council's highways request policy and any applicable Wiltshire Council traffic regulation order processes. Notes that the council highways and request policy requires a highway improvement proposals to be supported by an appropriate level of resident engagement and accompanying documentation before any substantive scheme is progressed for consideration, and then considers whether it wishes to obtain, it does wish to obtain quotations for a parking survey by suitably qualified consultants to inform any future wider highways or parking proposal affecting North Street, and delegates authority to the town clerk to progress the agreed actions and liaise with relevant Wiltshire Council officers, including LHV officers, where appropriate, regarding the options available and any further information required. Do I have a proposer?
No, I wanted to cut out E at this stage, because I think if we get the lines marked properly, see how that works. Because they have been faded for a long time, and then consider if that doesn't work, do we go further? Because I've noticed that we had a parking surveys done before, paid for them, they're not cheap. The consultations always cost a lot, don't they? I just think it's a 2-stage process. I would say stick with option 1. That's my.
But we're only getting quotations. We're
Quotation.
not actually doing it. We're only getting quotations for it.
A rough idea of what.
We'll plan
And I'm not sure that having the lines redone is going to solve any parking issues. It might help people park better and it marks it out, but people are still going to
I'm
struggle.
going to leave it as is for the time being. And then we'll
The
put it
parking
to vote.
survey will help.
Okay, well, I'm going to put it, is there a proposer?
No, I want to propose.
You can't, no.
I won't.
So councillor Ford, seconder. So Matthews, obviously no votes, all in favour? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favour, 1 abstention or
I'll be against, because I think
Against.
it's a waste of money doing a
Yeah.
parking survey. It's been done
Well,
before.
that's what democracy is about.
Yeah, that's.
So, yeah, great. So that's 1 against and the rest in favour. Thank you. So agenda item number 11, clerk's reports, including correspondence and progress report on all council business. You know, I can hand over to the
Yeah.
clerk.
Okay. So week 11.1, governance update. We touched on this after the last meeting. I'm not going to read it out per se in full, other than to say there is legislation that allows individuals to record council meetings. However, for transparency, the council obviously declares that at the start of each meeting. We've also got a bring your own device policy, and we've also got obviously data protection policy confirms how we manage our personal data. And it's in your report, but for the avoidance of doubt, any councillor who intends to make a separate recording of a council meeting, whether audio or visual, using a personal device must declare this openly at the start of the meeting. This is necessary to ensure transparency, protect the rights of those present and support compliance with the council's data protection and governance obligations. Councillors should be also mindful that any separate recording that they may contain personal data and must therefore be handled appropriately, securely, and in accordance with the council's adopted policies. So the council did approve its IT policy back end of last year. And there is an appendix, which is the bring your own device policy, which we will be sending out to all councillors. If you can sign that and print that off and bring that to the next meeting or drop it into the office, that would be really helpful. 11.1B is really for information that traffic regulation order 3668 has now been essentially signed off. That is a 20 mile per hour TRO for roads in Wilton Hill. Castle Meadow compound and car park project. Again, I'm not going to read it out, but the project group met at the end of last month, and there's another meeting next Monday, so that's progressing. The contractor met with the project group at the last meeting, so he's taken on board lots of feedback, and so Councillor Blanford Hull is in the process of updating the indicative layout in readiness for that meeting, which provides another discussion point. Hoping to get the flood risk assessment, get that moving, and also reviewing the lighting and drainage requirements. And that will all be brought back to full council in August for formal consideration. Councillor Register of Interests, item number D. Change in legislation last week. So records are in the process of being updated to remove all councillor home addresses from the register of interest, and the space in the register will essentially state the home address has been removed in accordance with section 32A of the Localism Act 2011. We will continue to keep a separate record internally for all councillor addresses. Section E is the tree risk assessment. We undertake the tree risk assessment every year. The contractor has just sent in a scope of works and a quote, but I'm in the process of getting another 2 quotes for that work. Not just as easy as going out to get the quotes, because we've obviously got to also complete the application because some of the trees are in the conservation area.
Are those trees the Market Square ones, or are they all the trees?
All the trees
in Wilton,
yes.
all of the trees on
our own
Wilton Town Council.
Correct, yeah.
So Kerry, on that, we will see what works are going to be done, and if we agree with them beforehand.
Well, the risk is pointed out by the contractor, so the council needs to understand those.
We see those 3,
yeah.
and then so
There should the link should be in your papers. The link should be in your papers.
I didn't see a link on that item, but
I thought I was just missing. Right, okay. That's so I will send that out to you. I'll send it out by email tomorrow, so you can see that. Okay. And then finally, on the first part of the clerk's report is the council offices, the condition report. You will have seen from the digest last week that the surveyors have now completed the drone footage survey. We've got the detailed survey being undertaken by WA surveyors, and the report is expected to be with us by the end of July, ready for discussion at the August meeting. So essentially, phase 1 is for the council to understand all of the remedial works that require consideration. So we know from what we've heard so far from the surveyors, there's the problem with some of the flashings on the roof. There's problems with rising damp. There's the south section of the wall that is also got some quite significant damp issues. But the good news is the roof is not leaking. So what I've asked the surveyor to do is to prioritise those works into what must be done immediately. What are the works that are going to be required to be done, say, in the next year, maybe 18 months, and then the longer term. The next step then, once the report has been considered by the council is then to consider the next step, which is internal modifications to the council offices to make the council offices and chamber slash what other uses do we want to be considered for the building itself. So much more of a wider plan, if you like. This is the first step. Let's get the building and the building fabric sorted. Then we can look at how we want to remodel it inside to make it much more accessible and fit for modern day working, more accessible to the public, rather than being at the back of the building when nobody knows where we are.
Any questions on the motion? No? Okay, so thank you very much for that. On to 11.2, the delegated decisions to ratify to the draft delegated spend. So we've got Castle Meadow first registration fee, £700, mentioned lease of 750, the draft SLA for additional weekend janitorial support, which is the carnival cover, £90. So on that basis, we should resolve that the delegated decision report is received and noted, that the council ratifies the items of expenditure set out in section 11.2. The proposer, please. Councillor Ditton, seconder. Councillor Willock, all in favour. All in favour, thank you. Other matters to resolve. So Wilton Educational Charity. So the constitution of long-standing Wilton Educational Charity allows for 2 trustees nominated by Wilton Town Council. One of these members has now served for many years and stood down at their last meeting. So they are asking for the council to consider whether one of the councillors would be willing to take on this role or would like to nominate someone to do it. Charity meets twice a year in June and November and administers a number of small grants to individual families for school supplies, uniform needs and support education activities. It also supports youth work at the church, has a favourable sound system at the lights, and gives grants to the primary school. We particularly welcome financial expertise for anyone with local knowledge and an interest in young people or education would be welcomed.
I would like to put myself forward for that. Not that I've got any, sort of further money or financial expertise, but I run a household and both of my children went to the school in Wilton, so there's still a connection there. I would like to take that on.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Yeah, Councillor Alexander, in favour? In favour. Okay, so yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Boyd. The volunteering, and I presume you can get in touch directly to confirm that. Lloyds Bank had delegated user access. So in preparation for the town clerk's annual leave, it is proposed that the comms officer has delegated access to view accounts and transactions and make online payments subject to the council's existing bank mandate, authorisation limits, segregation duties and payment approval controls. So the recommendation is the council grants the comms officer delegated access to the Lloyds Bank business account to view accounts, transactions, and make online payments. Is there a proposer for that? Councillor Dixon. Seconder, Councillor Matthews, all in favour? Thank you. Item 11.3.3. So this, we had a number of questions raised by Councillor Boyd at the start of the meeting related to this item. So members are asked to note the current condition of Castle Meadow grassed area and football pitch, the advice received, indicative cost of treatment, and proceed with herbicide treatment as part of improving the quality of the usability and open space subject to contractor risk assessment, public notices, signage, and no treatment meters of the river. So we need to answer the next at the beginning.
In question to your points you made earlier, Councillor Boyd, this information has been given to us via a grounds contractor. It's the grounds contractor who actually manages the grounds at Wilton Village. He's a local company and he came out and looked at Castle Meadow because we've had reports from the football club that the playing experience is quite poor. And so when he did his assessment of Castle Meadow, he was quite shocked, I suppose, is the right word, to say that 60 to 70% of the grass on Castle Meadow was weeds. Okay, and so his recommendation was to talk to the company called Lawn Tech, which is a local company, who have got many different contracts across the UK and are the experts essentially in local amenity space. And so this contractor, independent of Lawn Tech, said that this treatment will completely change the playing experience for the football team, but also for residents, they will notice a dramatic difference in the quality of the grass. So I've been in quite a lot of dialogue with Lawn Tech, because originally they proposed a product called Enforcer, which is approved for amenity use. It has no glyphosate, but it contains a product called 2.4-D, which is identified in the council's pesticide policy. And it, as a substance, the council aims to prohibit, doesn't prohibit, but aims to prohibit on land it manages. Lawn Tech have also provided details of an alternative product called Overtake, which does not contain 2.4-D, but will be less effective on weeds. As Castle Meadow is a public open space close to the River Wylye, the council also needs to consider the environmentally and appropriate compliance with its policy. And they've sent through all of the various risk assessments, all of the various different cost assessments, and would only treat the area up to 2 meters from the riverbank itself. So it's down to the council. Obviously, it's not. I'm not an expert, but please do ask.
Okay, so Councillor Alexander first.
Yeah, thanks. I'm with Councillor Boyd in that I don't particularly like herbicides. I really am, and it just goes into the water table, and I'm vehemently against that. If we're comparing it with Wilton Village, they have the smallest area of grass. In fact, it's probably demarcated here. So much easier to manage, and they don't have the footfall and people bringing in things of weeds and stuff. It's much easier to manage. We can't compare the two.
I don't think we are comparing.
No,
There's not a comparison.
the man came out who manages JCB was the one who do Wilton Village,
right.
okay, and he recommended thing. Also, it's a bit unfair now. I mean, my grass is pretty much dead at the moment, and it's taken over by wildflowers too, which drives me up the scooter. But in the winter, it'll come back again. So whilst it is 90 or 60 to 80% wild or whatever weeds now, the grass will recover. Now, I do agree it won't recover to the same extent, but perhaps, and Councillor Boyd mentioned is something that Salisbury use that isn't a herbicide. I don't know what that is. It's no use having something that we do use, for example, Overtake, which has got no 2.4, but is then not effective. It's a precarious situation, this, but we have to be seen, especially as we're in a conservation area, not to be using poisons. It harms bees, dogs can have a crack on them. I know we have to stay an hour. The guys is going to stay and say, don't come in for an hour, but that poison goes in. So I'm just saying, please, as a council, could we have done our due diligence by seeking other options before we go with anything with glyphosate or severe poison?
Okay.
It's just to clarify, it's not glyphosate.
Enforcer or Overtake, all of them.
And not glyphosate.
Yeah.
Okay, neither of them.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's been pointed out to me about the 70% weed coverage. If you kill those weeds, you get 70% mud coverage. So were we going to reseed the grass if we do that? That's one point. I also looked on the Lawn Tech website. They've got branches, not just around here, but they've got them everywhere. And it says the best time to do it is in spring, May, when the weeds first start growing, because that's when the chemicals get down into the roots best and kill them most effectively. If we're spending £1,700 on this, we don't want to do it now because it said you do not do it in dry weather in the middle of summer. You know, we want to do it at the right time. We also, I think, voted through, wasn't so long ago, about having 2 cut and collects in the springtime, because that would stop the dandelions, you know, flowering if you cut it more regularly and remove. So the 70% mud worries me, you know, because if we had rainy September, it could end up a mud pile very quickly. So not in dry weather was one thing that said on their website, suggested May, early June. It must be when the weeds start growing, it said that. And it also said that dogs and children should be kept off for a full day, not an hour, it said 1 day. And they were talking about selective herbicide, you know, not a non-selective one like glyphosate, just a day. So you'd have to keep everyone out of Castle Meadow. So I'm, you know, wavering on. I wonder if we could do it again as a 2-step process, see what happens to the cut and collect in the spring.
Councillor Boyd.
I'm a bit worried. I know 2 meters, obviously I'm not an ecologist or anything like that. But what I do know, if it rains, obviously the water will go through the grass and it will inevitably flow into the river. So some of that stuff will end up in the river, and that sort of worries me a bit. Also, I know that the football team have always complained about the state of the lawn. Well, not the lawn, but the playing field. It's too wonky, it's too this, it's too that. And now it's the weeds. Maybe, you know, I
don't think they've complained about the weeds.
No,
they haven't complained about the weeds.
No, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Now it's the weeds. It was too wonky.
The football team haven't complained about the weeds. It was just
The playing experience.
It was just a playing experience.
Yeah,
They
I know.
about the weeds.
That's why I was saying now. Obviously, they haven't complained, but yeah.
Could I suggest we don't, because it says 2 meters to the river and there's a bigger meander around the far end where it's nowhere near the playing fields. Could we not just do the cricket pitch and football pitch, leave all the bit around the edge where people walk the dogs? That's one point. And would the clerk please make sure, she guarantee that they won't do the wildflower patch by mistake as well? Because it says to within 2 meters of the edge of it would include the wildflower patch, but although there's no river there.
Okay, so we've got a recommendation here, so I'm going to put it to a vote. So members, yeah.
So just to be clear, then, is that Maria?
No, we've got a recommendation here.
Okay, fine.
So I'll put to the vote. So if the vote loses, we'll have to go back to a different recommendation. So members are asked to note the current condition of Castle Meadow grassed area and football pitch and advice received, and indicative cost of treatment, and proceed with herbicide treatment as part of improving quality usability of open space, subject to contractor risk assessment, public notices, signage, no treatment 2 meters of the river. And I would add to that, and treated at the recommended time. I'll propose it. Is there a seconder?
Can I just check before we second, the recommended time would be spring then?
Based on what the contractor suggests. I'll propose it. Do I have a seconder?
I can't propose.
You need to wait for the proposal to fail first. I would, unless.
There can be a counter proposal, but you'd have to accept that counter proposal.
Okay, what's the council proposal?
So my counter proposal is that we go away and see if there is a different method. Maybe ask Salisbury how they handle theirs, and then maybe bring it back to.
Okay.
Because Salisbury do have football pitches like in Harnham, and cricket pitches on the floodplain in a similar situation to us. The problem is a floodplain makes it difficult because when the river floods, obviously you get all the seeds out the river, including the drop wort, you know, landing on the grass. It's not something you can get rid of.
So that proposal's fundamentally different to the
Yeah.
proposal that
Yeah.
you've read out.
I'm not accepting that at the moment. I'm going to let mine go. If mine fails, then we'll come back to it. So do I have a seconder? I don't. So, I do have a seconder. Councillor Matthews. Okay, so I have a proposal. So all in favour? 3. Yeah. 4. 4 against 5. So it fails. So is there a second proposal?
To Alexa's mean,
So you want to put it back?
No, I'm taking,
So
sorry.
let's delay it, go back to go to speak to Salisbury. Okay, so you've got a proposal, we've got a seconder. All in favour?
Can we add to that, that we wait till the spring and see what the effect the cut and collect has? Because we could save ourselves £1,700.
You need to ask the proposer.
Oh, right, could we do that in the spring with the two, Bruce suggested two.
Because that wouldn't then.
Cuts nothing.
Yeah,
But can it be pending what Salisbury say, because they may actually spray in August, for example, and it works, so.
We're delaying it then by another year.
Do what?
It's having to tidy it up for you.
Yeah.
So you want to wait and see, reach out to SCC to investigate their methods. Who cut and collects. So literally just a wait and see, obviously.
Well, it's a wait and see, depending on what they say, with the option of perhaps delaying doing a cut and collect, but they may do spraying and they may do it in September. I don't know.
I just hate to make it worse and muddy it.
So I think we can always, Maria can always propose later a spring thing, depending on what comes back from Salisbury. That can get tagged on at a later stage, Maria.
I think that's a good idea with the cut and collect, because we had that put through before and it never happened because Aldi Verdi just forgot at times to cut it when it was supposed to be cut. And I think it's really worth a try, finding out what Salisbury does and seeing if we can kill it with just cutting and collecting it.
Okay, so what's the proposal, please?
So the proposal is to find out what Salisbury is doing.
Right.
Bring it back to the council and let us mull it over. But at the same time, try the cut and collect twice a year to see what outcome we get from that.
Okay.
So the big growth spurt is in the spring.
Is there a seconder?
Alex, I'm thinking about that now because okay.
Oh, sorry, you've already done it, have you?
No, because I don't want to delay it any further because the soccer pitches and football pitch is important. That it is good and they're going into it in the winter. So if there is something that Salisbury do that can be done perhaps in the early autumn to help the pitch for football in winter, I would prefer we did that and then perhaps two cuts or cut and thing in the spring so the two go together.
That's fair enough, but maybe Salisbury will say, yes, we do 2 cuts and collects. And then fair enough, we go ahead with it. Or if they say, we've got this contractor who use, I don't know, sugar water or whatever, which doesn't damage, then, put it back to the council and vote for it.
But our vote, as it was proposed, looks like it's restricting it that we're going to do nothing until spring. And I would prefer if there was something we could do in the autumn, we do that as well. So anyone want to articulate that and perhaps present it to Alex to say, so that we're not just tying ourselves up to spring.
We'll drop that bit then. We could just say, let's see what Salisbury City Council do, for the big
And then,
authority.
Clark, when that comes back from what Salisbury City Council do, does it come back as an agenda item that we could perhaps then talk about next time?
Okay, so who's going to make the change? We're making the proposal, just going to speak to Salisbury City Council. Yep, so you've got a proposal. So a seconder.
Sorry, who was the proposal?
Alex,
Have you
Councillor
already
Boyd, sorry.
seconded?
Who's
I'll
seconding it,
second
please?
it.
Thank you, Councillor Femina. All in favour?
You still can't do it. It's so hot in it, didn't he?
You can vote this what you want to do.
Can I abstain? Because I'm utterly confused and I don't want to leave it.
I'm in the
Sorry, yeah.
So sorry, we'll just have an all. So who is in favour of this proposal? Please, just so I'm really clear. So we've got 4 against 2, 5. So it fails.
Is Claire abstain?
Yeah, it's something.
So it's failed, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not going to reach agreement on this. This
So
evening.
it was at a tie though, it was 4-4 and 4 against and a tie. I mean, an abstinence.
I'm against, so it failed. Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, but he gets 2 votes.
Oh, you
Chair.
get.
So-
See,
I've asked to vote.
I got you, I got
I
you.
think what we're going to have to do is take this away and relook at it and come back because we're not going to reach agreement on it. Okay, on to item number 11.3.4. So the grant application for Wilton Club. So full council meeting held on 8th of June 26 under minute reference FC 22 council resolved to apply the published pavilion hire charge with and invite Wilton Cricket Club to submit community grant application to address any agreed shortfall in line with the council's usual governance arrangements. So the grant application has been submitted for £172.80. The recommendation is that members are asked to consider the application and resolve to approve the community grant of £172.80 to Wilton Cricket Club in accordance with the minute reference FC 23 and the council's community grant procedures, taking funds from cost code 4120 grants awarded. I will propose this.
I'll second it because I did propose it last time that they should pay the proper price, apply for a grant. So
Yeah.
it's consistent for me to.
All in favour? All in favour, thank you very much. Grant application for Wilton District Thursday Club. So grant application received from Wilton and District Thursday Club requesting £500 towards the ongoing running costs and the weekly luncheon club held at Wilton Community Centre. The club supports elderly residents from Wilton and surrounding villages through weekly meals, social contact and activities.
I'd like to propose that because I know they do not get council funding anymore. And I think it's a really, really important place for people to go on the Thursday Club.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Willock, all in favour? All in favour, thank you. Broadband and telephony services via our network. So the council received a proposal from YR Network to provide broadband and voice telephony services at a cost of £90 plus VAT per month for the council office and pavilion. The council currently pays £95 50 per month for one phone plus broadband. So the proposal includes a 2-year broadband account, no upfront equipment or installation costs, and confirmation that YR Network would buy the council out to its current agreement, allowing the transfer to take place without penalty fees. Recommendation is that the council approves the proposal from YR Network for broadband and VoIP telephony services at £90 plus VAT per month and authorises the clerk to proceed with necessary arrangements. Councillor Alexander.
Could I ask you, please, after 2 years, did they intimate how much we would pay?
They have said that before the end of the 2-year period, they would renegotiate a new contract, which would keep it within the parameters.
Okay.
Of
And the equipment,
Yeah.
do we keep it after the 2 years? What if we rolling that contract, we'll just maintain the equipment? And the contract is 2 years. Okay, those are my questions. Thanks.
Others? Got proposers or a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Bamford Hole, all in favour? That's all in favour. Thank you very much. 11.3.7, so Christmas lighting scheme, final authorisation and delegated arrangements. So I'm not going to read through all of this. I think you've got it, but the recommendation I will read through. So the council notes, the recommendation is that the council notes the June 2026 resolution regarding further negotiation of the Christmas lighting contract and notes the original proposal was based on higher costs of approximately £12,000 plus the purchase of lights at £10,698 plus VAT to be installed in the Market Square trees. The council further notes that additional options are now being explored, including the potential uplighting of the red cedar tree, which accounts for the higher indicative scheme costs now being reported. For transparency, the total estimated cost of the 2026 Christmas lighting scheme and associated event arrangements is based on £29,654, option 1.
I need to provide an update, or Michelle, do you want to do the update? Because the costs have changed since the papers have been published.
Okay.
Gone down.
Right.
So, update, we've had the quote for the uplighters to the Red Cedar, which are just shy of 7,000. We've got an option 2 quote for, instead of wrapping the trees, putting the little blinking stars on them instead around Market Square. And brings on to mush, sorry. Which brings the, so we have to purchase the uplighters, which is cheaper than purchasing the tree wraps, which means the trees lit. That's fine.
You know, that's okay. So just to build on what Michelle has said, if we were to go for the tree wraps and the higher costs associated with this scheme as presented last month, we then would buy the lights for the red cedar, the installation for year one for the red cedar. They would stay in for a 4-year period, which would mean that we could have the lights on in the tree at other times in the year. Year one costs, as it stands at the moment, for the tree wrapping and the whole scheme would be 29,810, or option 2, year one costs 20,444, which is the hanging decorations in the trees rather than the tree wraps. Both schemes would go down dramatically, one to 12,000 and one to 13,300 in year 2, 3 and 4. So there's still some refinements to do, which is why in the resolution the wording suggests that we continue with the delegation just to fine tune the final detail. So although it says in the report the figure of up to 36,000, which is obviously quite alarming, that was for everything when we first started this process. But now that we've got more into the detailed design, we've managed to get the costs right down, essentially.
So are you saying it would go down 12,000 in the next, that's 36,000, so next year we're only at 24?
So if you went for option, let's just say, for example, you went for the cheaper option in year one, which is the hanging stars, the uplighting and all the other stuff. It's 20,444 in year one, and it goes to 13,332 in year 2. Same to year 3, same for year 4. Because year one costs are all about buying the uplighters and hiring in the equipment to install them. So the year one costs are elevated, but year 2, 3 and 4 go right down.
Year one is investing for the things which we then have for the next 4 years at less than half price.
Well, we own them. You could look at it. You could look at it like that, yeah.
So can I ask, what is the pros of owning them? If there's fixing and repair to be done, would we have to do that after the 4 years? Do we sell them on?
So after 4 years, it's a hire agreement, with the exception of the uplighters in the red cedar. We buy those. So after 4 years, they may need replacing. They may last another 2 or 3 years.
And is it essential we have the uplighters, or are we voting on do we want them in this round?
So no, because the arrangements have been delegated down to the project group. However, what I would say is that from feedback at the carnival event, and we've also had a stakeholder meeting with various different people, Rotary Club, Carnival, probably about 12 people attended this Christmas meeting last week. People are very passionate about that red cedar tree, and doing nothing is not really an option, because the public are wanting us to respect the tradition of that tree. But of course, we know from the report that we had done earlier this year, growing like that, so it's not a long-term solution.
Where you said that we could use the lights at different times of the year as well. So would it be like, if it is purple for, I don't know, some kinds a day or whatever, would that be something we could do? Or
so that it would be like a projected lighting scheme.
Right.
So this is just a scheme that is warm white,
right,
for the whole scheme, so that it all blends together. But you know, for example, obviously we've got the main Christmas lighting event, but there are other times in the winter that tree could be lit up, just to create a bit of atmosphere.
Yes, I was going to say in the winter, because obviously you don't want to do it with the birds are nesting.
Obviously we have to get permission. That shouldn't be an issue. So, for example, the uplighters in the red cedar, the cost to buy them is 4,312. The installation is 2,800. So that's a year one cost. Once they're in the tree, that's it. There's no more cost until it comes to then reviewing that and then maybe buying new ones.
Councillor Fenner.
Yes, I thought the public would be interested in the cedar tree, you know, because they do like tradition. I just wonder about the total costs being quite high, because I looked up what do other towns spend, like Amesbury spend 16,000 on their lighting costs, admittedly we've got 12,000, you know, that is purchasing the lights. So they spend 16,000, but they're 3 times bigger than Wilton, for example. Warminster spend 35,000 on their Christmas lights, but they're 5 times larger than us. And so I think we are spending a lot for a very small town. That was my thought. And I wondered if there's a mention of cone trees on the pavements. I wondered if they, how much they cost and whether we could cut them out to pay for the red cedar. The American style cone trees or something, did it say? I'm trying to visualise all this.
They were in the report last week.
Yeah. I mean, how much do they cost? Do you
So I
know,
think
would that help to go towards the red cedar? Cut them out.
I'd have to get the minutes from last month.
Quite nice to use what we've already got, isn't it? The natural trees growing around the market square, trees in there.
Yeah, the idea behind the contour and cone trees and everything that I thought was agreed on last night was to make it more of a punchy effect, more to kind of come down and bring the family to take Christmas photos, just enjoy the town rather than what we usually have.
The feedback from the residents at the stakeholder event, and also we spoke to lots of people at the carnival. They were, and we showed them photographs of it. They were really very engaged with a new, fresh scheme.
Any other questions?
Well, it says here in the last paragraph, subject to the approval authority, delegate to town clerk, in conjunction with the mayor and deputy there, as long as it does not exceed 35,000 pounds, I would go along with that.
Well, it's not going to be anywhere near that.
Okay, so are you proposing the recommendation?
Yeah.
You are. Is there a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Forbes, all in favour? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, all in favour bar 1.
I'm going to abstain on
Yeah.
this one.
Okay. Right. Agenda item number 12. So to consider entering into a confidential session to consider council accessibility concerns and requests for alternative meeting venue. At this point, as chair, I want to make a statement. So before members consider this item, it is important to state publicly that Wilton Town Council is fully committed to meeting its legal obligations on accessibility, equality and inclusion. This item has been tabled this evening following a request from a councillor concerning current meeting arrangements and a request that meetings be moved to the pavilion. The council recognises its duties under the Equality Act 2010, including the duty to consider reasonable adjustments. In legal terms, a reasonable adjustment may be required where a provision, criterion, practice or physical feature places a disabled person at a substantial disadvantage, and the duty is to take such steps as is reasonable to take to avoid that disadvantage. The council is also subject to the public sector equality duty, which requires members to have due regard to equality impacts when making decisions. That duty requires proper, conscientious and proportionate consideration. It does not require one predetermined outcome. The council's duty is therefore to consider whether a disadvantage has been identified, what steps may reduce or remove that disadvantage, and whether any further adjustment is reasonable and proportionate in all of the circumstances. The current use of Wilton Baptist Church is a temporary meeting arrangement while wider accommodation matters are considered, including the outcome from the council office's condition survey, the pavilion car park resurfacing, and longer-term fully accessible venue options. Subject to tonight's decision and any necessary permissions or practical constraints, permission has also been sought for a temporary ramp while the LHVIG request is being progressed. The council also provides an online facility for members of the public and press to observe meetings and, where invited by the chair, to participate during public participation. This is an additional transparency and accessibility measure. It does not alter the legal position that councillors must be physically present in order to vote, and take formal decisions. The council's meeting policy, public participation and streaming, adopted on the 4th of March 2025, allows councillors to attend remotely and participate in debates, but confirms that they do not have the right to vote unless attending in person. Remote attendance also does not count towards the quorum in the 6-month attendance rule. For clarity, this item is not intended to open a general debate on accessibility tonight. However, the council recognises legitimate public interest in this wider topic. General public accessibility to the council's meetings and facilities remains a priority and will be addressed comprehensively as part of the ongoing accommodation review on a future agenda, where public participation will be fully welcome. Members are being asked tonight to consider the specific requests before them, whether the current arrangements create a disadvantage, and if so, whether the existing mitigations, interim measures, or any further arrangements represent a reasonable and proportionate response. If members need to consider personal circumstances, dignity considerations, sensitive correspondence, medical or accessibility requirements, or other confidential information relating to an individual councillor, the council may resolve to exclude the press and public for that part of the item. The Public Bodies Admissions Act of 1960 permits exclusion where publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest due to the confidential nature of the business and for other special reasons stated in the resolution. This is a decision for council as the corporate body, not for any individual councillor. Council must consider the wider public interest in its data protection duties and the need to protect personal and sensitive information while enabling a proper and lawful debate. The recent online context is also relevant to the public interest balance. The council has duties under UK data protection legislation, as well as a duty to take reasonable care in relation to the well-being, dignity and personal information of its members and staff. Discussing an individual's personal circumstances, dignity considerations, or specific medical or accessibility requirements in a public forum, particularly one subject to recording and wider online commentary, would risk compromising those duties. The need to provide a safe, lawful, and confidential space for that sensitive discussion is what drives the recommendation for confidential session, rather than any desire to limit transparency on the wider governance issues. Members are reminded of their obligations under the Councillor Code of Conduct and the Council adopted Civility and Respect Pledge to treat one another with respect and dignity. Members should approach this item with an open mind based on the report, the legal framework, the information available, and the practical options before them. The decision must be based on proper governance, relevant evidence, and clear reasons. Whatever decision is reached, the Council's final resolution and any agreed action will be recorded publicly in the usual way, subject only to proper protection of personal and confidential information. That statement, I think, has been circulated now to you. So, based on that, and as per the recommendation, I'm recommending that for agenda item number 12, we exclude the press and public, so that this can be properly discussed.
Can I say something?
You can.
Yeah, I feel like we are voting about excluding disabled people to discuss excluding disabled people. As you know, under the Equality Act 2010, we're legally required as a town council to make reasonable adjustments so that disabled residents and councillors can access our meetings, and that's a statement for the local government association. So we're looking at the law here. This legislation relates to access and inclusion. And it says meetings must be held in wheelchair accessible buildings with step-free access and accessible toilets. And that's the Disability Rights Act states that as well. We should have an anticipatory duty. Accessibility is the default. So even there was no one here that was disabled in any way, we don't know because it's an invisible thing, disability. You know, we should be working, assuming a disabled person, resident or councillor. I mean, any of us could be disabled tomorrow, couldn't we? So, yeah, we should consider an anticipatory duty. And I think we can't really put this off. When I joined the council in November, I think we were already in here and we're still in here.
And I just, I thought at the moment we were just discussing whether it was gonna.
I'm talking about the law.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the law.
No, I realise that, Maria, I realise that, but
Hang on. Okay.
but I thought at the moment we were discussing whether to vote, whether it's gonna be exclusive press and public. I get what you're saying,
It's
but
not about one person, I'm trying to.
no,
say.
no, and I don't disagree, but this moment in time, aren't we just deciding whether we exclude press and public?
We are, and I'm proposing we exclude press and public.
Can I just say, obviously this item is about me and I don't mind speaking openly and frankly about my disability and why I put this request in. So to me, I like to be open and honest about everything. I don't mind. I put my story out there about my cancer. I've had lots of people who said, you know, this was really good. It really helped me. And I don't mind doing the same again about accessibility to toilets and buildings.
So can I have a word? So, based on that, the public can't say anything anyway at this stage. And also that, for me, this has affected me as a councillor because it's become quite a bone of contention and I'd like it sorted. But I would like it sorted behind closed doors because I know that whatever we decide will go public. So, and public currently will have no say on what we're going to say. But however, what we say will be given to the public. On that basis, I second your proposal.
Thank you. All in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is carried. And that will now conclude tonight's meeting in public session. And all recordings please be stopped and can all members of the press public please leave. Thank you.
Clerk, may I ask as an off
We get past it Wednesday.
Oh, can I state, Alex, I didn't exclude anybody. I know this has affected me quite badly. I feel like I want to resign over the way this whole thing has transpired. I care about you a lot, but I just feel, you know, like sometimes mom and dad will discuss things behind closed doors and then come out and speak to the children. That's how I feel it is now. No, not.
All right, that's
don't-
fair enough.
don't
That's